The 2 Cent Report!
Hello and welcome back to the 2 Cent Report. I am 1 Cent Tristan, your co-host, but should be host, but not really because that's too much work involved. And I know it's been a while, but I'm joined again with the handsome and vigorous 1 Cent Justin. Justin, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for the vigorous comment. I do consider myself to be a very vigorous person. Yeah. I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you for inviting me. It's been a fun time. And how are you?
I'm good to be back. I know it's been a while, but there's some times where you just gotta go, hey, let's vent on a podcast and have nobody listen to it.
Exactly.
And I think that time has arrived once again.
I would agree. I would definitely agree with that proclamation. Yeah. So good, sir. What have you been playing since it's been 2 days. In 2 days, it will have been a month since we last spoke. So it's been a while.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So I basically have been focusing more on work as the end of the year is closing and other people want stuff done before they go on holiday. So that means that my work must increase until they go on holiday, which is unfortunate, but it does mean money, and money is good. So what I have been trying to play during my time is I'm still playing Battlefield 5. I did try Battlefield 1, but I want to stick to Battlefield 5, so no changes there. I actually did start playing Freelancer again. The space game made by Microsoft, that one. So I started playing that again and got some really great ideas for sci-fi games. I have it as with a HD mod, I could say, just to kind of make it work on my Windows 10 PC. Because it did have some graphical issues when launching it on Windows 10. I've actually been having my in the middle game being Fallout New Vegas, so I'm playing that again, as well as still playing Skyrim.
What are you who are you siding with in New Vegas?
Oh, this time I'm a bad boy. I'm going Caesar's Legion. I already sided with the Powder Gangers, so took out Good Springs, did some missions at the correctional facility, and now I'm just wondering to get to New Vegas so I can kick off the whole chip thing, and then side with Caesar's Legion, or Kaiser's Legion. Kaiser?
Yeah, well,
Kaiser's Legion.
Yeah, if you're on Kaiser's side, it should be Kaiser. So
yes, for the Kaiser.
I actually played New Vegas for about an hour, and then I was like, oh fuck, I'm in that thing again where I think if I could push through the first 3 hours, I'd be happy. But the beginning is always the same, so I'm like,
But that's the beauty of being bad, is that instead of me doing the tutorial of shooting the bottles and then talking to Pete about dynamite and then convincing the shopkeeper to hand over supplies and going up to meet, what was his name? Something with an R? Randall? I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
It's so forgettable. All I did is I went to Cobb, told him I wanted to be on his side. He said, kill the guy. I went up there, killed him, I came back. Then I didn't have to do it. You still have to get supplies, and you have to get medical supplies and from the shop. But all I did is just lie. So I just went up there, I lied, I got the supplies, I came back, and I just killed him. And then the battle starts, I kill everybody, and that's that. Then, you have to do the NCR thing, but I don't have to do that. So I just went straight to Nipton to meet with the Legion, to spread the word, head back up to the NCR. But this time I'm vilified with them, so I had to actually use the perks of New Vegas and disguise myself as an NCR in order to go in there. As you know, that outpost on the border is, in the early game, the only place you can get your items repaired without you having to do it yourself. So I milked that as well with the NCR disguise. But now, yeah, I'm on my way through the world.
Well, I'm glad you seem to be enjoying it. I had a replay of New Vegas a few, months ago. Who was I? Who did I side with? I think I sided with Mr. House. But I've sided with everyone before, so I've played it every way.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
When you first played, who did you side with? First playthrough.
When I first played, I sided with myself.
Yeah,
sided
me too.
With
Yes Man.
I sided with Yes Man, and I killed Mr. House. I upgraded the bots, the security bots, and I took over.
Yeah, I have a feeling most people do that the first time because every faction is kind of shit. They're all bad guys.
I won't lie. I played myself into that. Like, I didn't notice what I was doing until I did it. You know, like, I just like, oh, it's a quest, accept. Oh, Yes Man wants me to go do this, accept. Next thing you know, it's like, oh, kill Mr. House. Okay, how bad could that be? Kill him. Oh, I'm now stuck. All right, that's fine. The next time I played, I sided with the NCR, which I must say was a very disappointing faction to side with.
Yeah, no, I think also like the NCR just aren't very like interesting ultimately. They're basically just America. So, you know.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, like, I've gone into lore about this, and like apparently the areas that the NCR controls aren't just like, the one thing that gets me about all Fallout games is that they all live in rubble. Like, even if it's an outpost, there's always some trash or some dirt. Like, do brooms not exist? You know? Could they not tidy up the place? Now, with the NCR, their controlled areas are actually more developed, look more like how it did before the war, right? Obviously not with the most advanced nuclear thingies, but it has a sort of civilization. But then in New Vegas, it's still that grimy, grungy aesthetic, and the NCR lives in bases where there's dirt, there's rubble, there's grime. Now, I understand that things can get worn up, but you can clean stuff. But I also understand that Obsidian didn't get too much time to personalize everything, and that's fine. It's just that I found them very boring because the part you get from them isn't that nation that is this force to be reckoned with and is and owns a large majority of what was once America, right? You get this, I would say, the underside of it, or the side that people can relate to more, and that's the bureaucracy of it, you know? The fact that the soldiers, although being of the NCR, are still paid a wage and are still able to get off time, which means that corruption is easily grown within them. And it just gives me, like, you get this really negative impression of the NCR, especially when they're fucking losing to people that throw spears. Although the spears in early game are fucking insane.
They are.
And I understand why, but with the amount of armaments the NCR boasts, like, they had that whole thing where they were able to get manufacture power armor, but without the weight support like the Brotherhood has. They were able to mass produce power armor, which if you wear it, you get a significant debuff, but you get a buff to armor and stuff, but you get a debuff to strength, and that's all cool and stuff. But it's like, you have so many people and you can mass produce power armor. How are you not winning this war? How have you not taken over Hoover Dam already? Like, it just boggles my mind. And you could say, yeah, the Legion has more people. They are smart. They are more tactic orientated, and that is true. But I'm sorry, there is a limit to how far they could take their offensive. If it was a small NCR outpost and they basically rushed it and took it over, that's acceptable. Or if it's an area where it's very lightly defended by the NCR, they could totally overwhelm that easily. But if we're talking about the NCR knowing that Hoover Dam...
Yeah. I mean, they are law reasons. Like, they're really stretched thin up in Nevada. Like, I think they're fighting other wars in other places that they consider to be more important. So, like, they're sort of just not really putting as much into this. Because, like, in like a bunch of the quests, you're, like, helping the NCR do, like, shit that they should have sorted. Like, we don't have medicine. You're like, why the fuck don't you have medicine? You're the government. Useless pricks. So
Exactly. It's okay. Fair enough. If they
yeah,
are
they're
spread
just
out,
badly
I'll
run,
accept them.
pretty much.
But then just back. Like obviously, it's too valuable to back out, but it's not valuable enough to put more resources into.
Yeah.
And the trade routes are not looking so good. So we're at that pinnacle where there's this massive power is about to crumble and makes it easier for the Legion to come in. But like, yeah, I just found them underwhelming. That's why if you go for yourself in the first playthrough, and then now I'm just trying out the Legion because I wasn't a big fan of them, but mainly because not because of the slaves and the way they think. I look at a faction based on their technology, right? These O's are, yes, they're on the front lines. It's not back in the tribe lands, but they do have tribe lands. I mean, they probably have villages from old cities and stuff, but more and more I see them, they seem really primitive, and I really don't like that they seem really primitive, and that's why I've never sided with them, is because I always thought that they might the man himself, Kaiser, might be smart as all hell, and his Legate might be the best general out there, but the fact is they're so primitive, man.
Yeah, but that is also part of like the whole. It's kind of like the sort of Shaka Zulu type military training where they're like, you have to be sort of, like the whole marching on thorns thing to be a badass. Like, if you survive a battle, then you're like more of a veteran. If you just die, you're pathetic. So it's sort of that same kind of thing with the Legion.
Yeah, I get their war culture. That's fine with me because that's obviously derived from ancient war cultures. The Romans and the Zulus, blah blah blah. But what I don't like is that there's no indication of how their civilization is. Are they just using old ruins? Are they making new cities? Are they just sending up tribes, things like that? Because the whole nomadic thing kind of works out for tribe, but not for such thing as the Legion. And then if they have static cities, how big are they? How developed are they?
Well,
I would like to see more on that side of things.
Yeah, no, sadly, I think the Legion. I think Obsidian didn't have enough time because the Legion is quite a sort of. There's not that much there. Like, not that much content in comparison to like the NCR. Like, there just aren't that many missions for the Legion and stuff. But from what I do know from like lore things, because I love New Vegas, so I've like watched lots of things about it and everything. And I mean, they do have like cities and everything, because what they do is they take over tribes and they sort of make them part of the empire. So they do have like cities, but I think they are very primitive, sort of on purpose. I don't think they trust.
Simple.
They don't really trust technology. I think because also, I mean, technology was the thing that destroyed the world. So
no, I disagree. War destroyed the world.
Yeah, with technology.
Yeah, I mean, like, a weapon is a weapon, but the act of it is what destroyed the world.
Yeah. But you're not going to have a nuclear apocalypse without nukes. So I think that's sort of there.
Look, from what I understand, right? There were three major powers. I know this is a whole lot of fucking Fallout lore that we're discussing, but let me just finish up with this. I know that from my lore thing, there was three major powers. There was, I don't know their names. I can't remember the names. But there was China, who had taken over the majority of Asia and the Indonesians. There is America, who's on the west. And Africa was also a powerhouse. Because they had high uranium exploits or some imports or exports, something like that. And when the war started, obviously the east and the west got pummeled with nuclear bombardments, right? Yes, it was like for a few minutes, but the fact is that happened. Now, there's nothing that I found that suggests that the faction that ruled Africa ever got involved, right? I don't know if you're aware of this.
No, I'm not.
Maybe I missed some law.
I mean, something that I've always been disappointed about with Fallout is that, like, I wish that they would set a game not in America. I would like to see the rest of the world.
Yeah, but that doesn't that doesn't work. Also, can you hear my alarm?
I can hear your alarm, but it's all fine.
I can see it on the recording. They just
No, it's all chilled.
tasting. So I'll just. You can carry on talking. I'll just.
But yeah, no, I'm not too sure. I don't know about the Africa sort of side of it. But I know that, yeah, it's pretty much, I mean, the war between America and China. And then it's always set in fucking America. There is only one DLC that deals with non-Americans, that actually deals with the war, which is Operation Anchorage, but it's...
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Yeah, but, I mean, it doesn't go that deep into it. And it's also, as was pointed out, which is kind of, like, funny, is that it is basically a racist caricature of the Chinese, but, like, that's because it's a simulation where they were trying to train people to kill Chinese people. Because, like, all they're just, like, you could convince the general guy at the end to just kill himself, which, like, a general isn't just gonna kill themselves. Like, you can convince the legate at the end of New Vegas to, like, turn back, but you don't get him to kill himself. That's ridiculous. But, yeah, it's quite... I need to play... you know what, I want them to make another Fallout, but, like, I want them to just give it to Obsidian. Just...
Well, you're in luck, you know. So this is, I don't know if you know about them. It's I wouldn't say small, but, you know, they're sizable. This company, very obscure company. It's called Microsoft.
Yeah.
They've been in some news.
Yeah, I
turns out
very small.
They own. Well, they don't technically. They do own Bethesda and Obsidian, so
that is
maybe
true.
they encourage Bethesda to carry on with Elder Scrolls and Starfield.
That's true, but also we I don't think we should talk about such obscure stuff on the podcast. Like, most people aren't going to have heard of Microsoft, so you know.
Yeah, fair enough. Also, Obsidian is like going on about Outer Worlds 2, and I enjoyed Outer Worlds, but it's not exactly the pinnacle of RPG experience. It's very like they did everything really well if everything was to be okay. You know, the companions are interesting, but the way they fight with you is okay. The world is interesting, but it slowly becomes okay. I'm not a fan of worlds of games where they have several alien worlds or worlds you can go to, and they drag assets from each world across. Like, why am I seeing creatures from one world inhabiting another world? You know, like there was creatures on the first map or area you find in the first world, and then you go to a moon and they're there as well. And my mind is, yeah, you could patch together with lore that people just transported them there to terraform the moon, but at the end of the day, I don't want to see other creatures that I've already fought on other planets. I want to fight something unique, and that's always been my problem with, especially with these big space games like No Man's Sky. Yes, they've got more diversity now, but it's still not diverse enough. Like, I like to play with the idea that science has an equation or formula depicting what life would be like on other worlds. But I also like the idea of things being completely different, like absolutely different.
Yeah.
Like why must flowers be flowers on another world? Can't they do the same thing but found a different shape or form to do it in? You know, things like that.
Yeah, no, I get it. Also, we've spent a long time talking about Fallout lore. Should we move on?
Yeah, sure. Technically, it was Obsidian now, but
it was Obsidian now. Yes,
the tangent was long enough.
The tangent was quite a lot. I wanted to just say the games that I've played this while, which by chance the last month I've played like 3 of my favorite games of the year, which has been nice. The first one was a Metroidvania because, of course, I'm very I'm very boring. So, yeah. However, what I will say is, first off, this game is made by a company that I think has the best name ever because it's very extra. It's called the Super Awesome Hyperdimensional Mega Team. And I did like their game. It's pretty good. It's called the Night Witch. It's something that's actually quite great about it is that it hasn't really been done, to my knowledge, since Owlboy. Do you know Owlboy or not?
I think I do.
So basically, it's like Metroidvania. They're both Metroidvania type games, but where there's no platforming. Like your character can fly. You have free movement. So it kind of becomes more like a bullet hell type thing rather than a traditional Metroidvania. So yeah, that was pretty good. It was pretty good. I liked that. Then I played. Now, first off, do you know this term? Because I think it's such a funny term. Boomer shooter.
Are we talking about armor and the likes?
No, but that's a good point. I think people often call those like dad shooters. So
okay. What's a boomer shooter?
So a boomer shooter is like, so you know how, say the mid or late 2000s, early 2010s, like all the indies were making like 16 megapixel platformer games. Like that's what all the indies were doing. They were like making games from the late 80s, early 90s, like that kind of vibe. Well, we've now progressed, Tristan, into the mid to late 90s, in which indie devs are making Doom clones, as in the original Doom, and Duke Nukem, and stuff like that. So, it is a, like an old school style arena shooter, circle strafe type game. And they call them boomer shooters, which I think is a very funny term.
It is a funny term.
And this one, this one's pretty great. It's called Impaler. It's like a tiny game, and it's fucking cheap. Like, it's super cheap. And basically, it's like a rogue-like sort of. Not really. You have to go through like several levels in which the room sort of reshapes itself. You have multiple weapons that you unlock as you play. But the main thing that you have, what it's called, is that you have the ability to impale anything. So you have like a second gun that can impale things. And you can also use it to do like an impale jump, which is basically a rocket jump. But yeah, it's basically just a very fast-paced sort of boomer shooter. Very, very fun. Very fun thing. Clearly low budget, but it's great. So, yeah. And then, because you have to let your inner child out, Tristan. Right? Mm-hmm. Do you let your inner child out?
All the time.
Okay, good. Because there's a game called Lil Gator Game, and it is just the best thing. You are a little
gator game.
Yes, gator as in alligator. So.
Oh! Please tell me it's not like a Croc clone.
I mean, I think your character kind of looks like Croc. But no.
Because Croc was just Croc was a combination of popular mechanics in its time that it put all together but didn't do much with.
No, it was like we've played Crash Bandicoot. Look, similar mechanics. But no, Little Gator Game. You're a little alligator child. Anthropomorphic, obviously not an actual alligator. And you're trying to get your sister to play a game with you. So basically you have this big open world in which you have to do various kind of mini game type tasks, but sometimes it can be something very obvious, sometimes but more involved. To get them to join your game that you're playing. So you're turning the park into a giant like kids playground where like you built fortress out of like cardboard and crafting paper, and you just have to kind of go around and get people to do things. But what's great is it has such fantastic traversal mechanics. So you keep unlocking new ways to traverse the world, where you'll be like, okay, so you unlock like a t-shirt, because it's a kid's game, like it's a kid who's playing a game, so it's like a t-shirt that you can use to like, glide. So like you jump off a tall thing and you glide with like a t-shirt that you open, and you can have like a shield, which is not actually a shield, it's like a plank of wood, but you can like skip on the water with it, and you can get like a skateboard that you can obviously skateboard on. And then one of the funniest ones is that you can activate ragdoll mode, where your character just ragdolls, and you could just roll around the floor, because why not? It's basically just extremely happy game. It's very, very entertaining, and there's quite a lot of very just fun moments of like kids playing games, but like not really. So it'll be like a thing where the currency in the game is confetti that you just get from other kids. So there's like one point where there's like this kid who you have to convince to come and help you, and the kid's like, I don't know what you can do. And then they just see there's an adult with an ice cream, cart, and the kid's just like, oh, I know what you can do for me. You can get me an ice cream. I need an ice cream. And so you like go to the adult and you're like, I'd like 2 ice creams, please. And the adult's like, that'll be $5. And you're like, here's some confetti. And the adult's like, no, I want real money, please. It's just that kind of like cute kids who don't really, they're just trying to have fun. And it's very, very sweet and sort of comfy. And also one of my favorite games of the year. And then lastly, I played a game that I know is very high quality. It's a JRPG made by like one dude, and it's called Chained Echoes. I can see it's very, very high quality. I can see it is. I get very bored with JRPGs, so I found it a bit boring, but I can see that it is very, very good, and that people who like JRPGs will love it. So, yeah. That is what I played.
Yeah. I also find JRPGs boring. I think for JRPGs, a lot of the imagination has to happen in the head and not on the screen. Because they get that the JRPGs come from a time where technology was limited, and they, don't get me wrong, there have been some amazing things that old games, and especially JRPGs, have done that basically laid the groundwork for what we consider a good game nowadays.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But it still requires more.
Yeah,
how do I say it?
I think just to me, I'm not a big fan of turn-based like battles, which doesn't count things like, say, XCOM. That's not the same kind of turn-based, That's like turn-based tactics. When it's like you have to pick an attack, you do the attack, they attack you, then you pick an attack. I find it very boring gameplay. It's not for me. But that doesn't mean it's bad, it's just not for me. So, No,
I totally get you. I'm not a big fan of it. Most of the time, I'm blitzing my way through Pokemon battles or Final Fantasy battles where I just want to get it over and done with. And if I can't use my strongest attack, I'll spam until I can, or I'll spam until I die. I'm not really fussed on doing combos. This person hits with this, that nullifies that. I did that in XCOM, and I did that in Divinity 2. Those games allow you to not just with the character stack, but with the environment.
That makes it different.
I remember one of the most impressive things I did in XCOM. This is number 1, is that first place for you when the UFO crashes and you have to go investigate it, and I couldn't find a door that wasn't heavily defended, so I just took my rocket launcher and blasted a hole into the UFO, which killed somebody and gave me a flanking position.
Yeah,
and I thought that was just awesome.
Yes, no, that's what I loved about like XCOM and stuff but that's different. If you get to like use the environment and stuff, I'm like, that's not the same kind of turn-based battling as you find in a JRPG, which is basically a menu. That's what it is. It's a menu that you just select the highest damage skill until you run out of mana, and then you do regular attacks until the battle's done.
How do you feel of the hack and slash then? Bayonetta, Devil May Cry.
Well, those aren't turn-based, so
I know they're not turn-based, but what is your thoughts on them?
I mean, I love sort of spectacle fight things like Devil May Cry and stuff. I love those games, but they're very action oriented. So, yeah, I don't know. Why?
No, I get you. No, I was just thinking of it.
Okay. By the way, so you know, the first news story I actually have for us today is about that really small company we spoke about earlier. So, yeah, should we start talking about? I know it's a really small, like Microsoft's tiny company.
Oh, okay, Microsoft.
Yeah,
I thought you wanted me to repeat the name of the studio you like, and I was like, I really don't remember.
No, this is a tiny company. I know you've heard of it. Most people haven't. But this is actually, now there haven't really been any like acquisitions, but this is a story all about the big acquisition stuff with Microsoft and ABK. So I think it still counts because it's been very funny. Basically, Sony not happy about the whole Call of Duty thing because obviously it is a fucking huge franchise, and it is a big deal. So then Microsoft started basically making a bunch of promises. So they were like, we promise we will bring Sony, that we will bring Call of Duty to PlayStation, Steam, and Nintendo consoles, which funnily enough, they haven't actually brought one to Nintendo since like 2014. So I think that was mostly an empty gesture, but whatever. And they're like, we'll bring it for 10 years. Now the thing is, that seems like a lot. We're like, yes, on one hand, Sony might sound like they're a bit whiny, but 10 years actually isn't that long in terms of business. So you can understand why they're a bit pissed off. And it's also that Microsoft can just buy the competition. Like, Microsoft could just buy EA. Like, they could just buy these big companies if they wanted to. And just destroy the competition. To the point where they've basically just been doing all sorts of whining as much as they can, being like, no, this won't be a monopoly. We're not gonna control lots of market share. Obviously, Sony is actually the big, powerful company in this situation, not Microsoft. Because Sony has a bigger market share of the console console market, and you're like, yes, but you're Microsoft. That's not really. You can't be like. Imagine Microsoft being like, no, you see, it's absolutely bullshit that Huggies Nappies has a much larger stake in the nappies market than we do. So really, they have more power than we do. But yeah, so they've both basically been trying to claim that no, this won't be a monopoly. However, the FTC in America has officially filed a lawsuit to try and block the merger because, it would be anti-competitive practices. If you control the competition, then there is no competition. So, yeah.
That is true to a degree. This is only the main thing has been the Call of Duty franchise, right? Now I understand the whole thing about Monopoly and why Monopoly bad, right? It's also why I don't play the board game at all. I always end up broke. The only game I've actually successfully played with that kind of scheme is Mad, and that option is to become broke and you become the winner. Right. So that anecdote aside, let me carry on with what I was going to say. Yeah. So blocking the merger, right, is a for me, it's like a heavy-handed government way of doing things. Whereas if you take a look at like Sony's bitching about COD, right? But has Microsoft ever bitched about the Sony exclusives?
Well, they did actually, as part of their arguments, sort of claim that like, oh no, Sony has better exclusives than us. They've been pleading that they're weak. That's been their argument, that they're actually the weaker party here. But the thing is, that's not really like the right argument, because Microsoft has always had its exclusives and Sony has always had its exclusives. But if, for instance, say Microsoft were to just buy EA, like the huge power of all those sports franchises, like, hardcore gamers don't care for them, but they're bigger than all the games we care about. Like, FIFA sells more
why doesn't
than
Sony
Fallout.
just buy them?
So
Why doesn't Sony just buy them?
Sony doesn't have the money to buy them. Sony's nowhere near as rich as Microsoft.
Or maybe they should have thought about having a PC range instead of a console range. But that's just my opinion on the matter. Look. The way I see it, right? Microsoft says, okay, cool. They buy EA and now they make all the FIFA games exclusive. Yes, it doesn't mean anything to me. But PlayStation players or Sony supporters, well, now that it's no longer on that console, on that platform, they will hop over to the Microsoft platform, right? And obviously it'll be unfair to competitors, blah, 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 and eventually Sony will close its doors because Microsoft bought Activision and bought EA and bought ABK and then bought EA and Ubisoft, all of them now owned by Microsoft. Let's just put that as an example, right? I still don't think, right, that stopping the merger is a good idea. And here's why. Because ABK could desperately use some support from Microsoft, right?
I mean, I suppose.
That's my argument.
But they are. Also, one of the things is that this merger only like started as soon as all those accusations and stuff started coming out. This is like the Microsoft, the ABK executives trying to escape all of this. But actually, also one of the things that I think is less, because we've only been talking about COD, but they don't just own COD. This will mean that all Blizzard games never make their way to PlayStation either.
Oh,
so
the horror.
So like Overwatch, which is big, the new Diablo, which is coming out. But then of course there's also things like the new Bethesda stuff, which they could make Xbox exclusives. Like, will there be a reason to even buy a PlayStation anymore? And it's just because really they were able to buy up all the competition. But also a thing that's kind of good to keep in mind, that in history, when the FTC uses its antitrust powers, which is the ability to break up monopolies and and stop mergers and stuff like that, whenever they've broken up monopolies, it's led to innovation. Like, they're the people that broke up, for instance, in America, used to be all the phones used to just be one company, and then they broke it up, and then what happened was, when they did that, the internet was able to be created. So, like, monopolies are bad. They're really, really bad for innovation. We'll get worse games. You say that,
but now we have airtime that expires, digital currency that expires because you don't use it. To me,
yeah, but that's a South African thing, and that is bullshit. And that's
it's not just South African.
No, I know.
Just by the way,
I know, but there are places that don't have that.
Yeah,
but that is bullshit. But that's also because South Africa also has a monopoly problem. We only really have like 3 service providers. That's still a monopoly. It's not technically a monopoly in the sense of one company controlling everything, but real monopolies don't exist. Like, it's never been that only one company controls absolutely everything. It's too big. But a handful of companies do. And this is why, like, there's only a handful of companies that control air travel. And that's why all air travel's fucking expensive, because they all collude with each other to increase the prices. So they don't compete with each other. Like...
Exactly. And then that causes more competitors to rise up. Now, my thing is, Sony had lost... This is the final strokes of something. But Sony had already lost. Sony, Nintendo, all of them, they lost the moment Microsoft made Windows. Yes, whatever you can say about Windows being derived from Macintosh, I don't care. The fact is, the most dominant operating system. Now, yes, Xbox has its own operating system, but it's technically built on top of Windows. The most dominating operating system doesn't even need studios to be owned by that brand for them to make games for it. Right? Indie devs can make games on Windows without paying Microsoft a cent other than their license for the Windows. Right? Whereas if I had to go and make a game for Sony, the only way I'm getting into make a game for Sony, even though engines have pre-built in things for that, the only way I'm going to get it released on PlayStation is if I enter a contractual agreement with Sony. I take on their technology, I use their resources to get my game done. Right?
That is true.
The biggest failing of the console, of how Sony has gone about it, right? I went to a workshop about 2 years ago at Africa Games Week, and that was one of the main things. Sony was there, so I was like, okay, Sony's coming here. I want to find out. So I bought the ticket and I went. And they had a workshop of how you could get into the Sony space, how to make games for Sony. And there's a lot of you submit, they either accept or decline. If you accept it, you get resources and access to their engine. Not the engine, but the ability to build on their platform. So you get the APIs and plugins for it, as well as you get support from them. If you don't, if you get declined, you cannot make your game for Sony. You cannot launch it as a third-party independent game on the PlayStation. You can't, because the only way games are getting installed on the PlayStation is via disc or the store. And both have to be approved.
That is true, but I think it's also good to keep in mind that, like, a console is trying to use a closed garden approach, which, yeah, I personally prefer a more open approach. But also, there is an argument from quality to be made there, where, like, Steam, the majority of the shit on Steam is crap. It's just trash. It's hard to actually find good games that are, like, say, small games, like games by a small indie. You have to trudge through 10 asset flips and 10 low-effort bullshit things before you can find the one game that's good. With somebody saying no to people, it does ensure some level of quality. But that does, of course, mean that they can exclude certain people. So there's always problems to it. Like, Steam has a level of control where if you look at something like Itch, I love Itch, but Itch does let fucking anything on there. It's like, if you just go through the new releases, what are the chances you're going to actually be able to find something good? Like, maybe if you rarely go looking and you're like, I'm going to spend 4 hours trying to find a good game on Itch, you will find one, but, like, you gotta go look at, you know? So,
yes,
it does make sense. And actually, this somewhat relates to our next news story, because in the EU regulators have forced Apple to allow other app stores onto iPhones. Because before it was only the App Store. Which means that there can be... And it's great. I like that. But at the same time...
That is smart, especially because you're an Apple user, it helps you. But you're not running away from my retort, which will be... My last thing I will say on the whole Microsoft monopoly versus the Sony competitor, right? Is that the whole closed garden thing, sure, it shows quality, right? But I prefer, like, this is a preference, the open garden, and here's why. I'm not thinking of it as open. I think of it as a primordial spawning pool, right? There's more innovation being made on Steam than there is in Sony.
Most definitely.
Okay?
But I would say the same of
a lot of shit.
I'd say the same of Microsoft, though, because, like, the Microsoft Store is also closed garden.
Yes, but this is why I'm saying fuck the Microsoft Store. I'm still running Windows, which is a Microsoft product, but I have an access. Okay, this is me just bitching, going on about it because PC Master Race. But I can go onto Steam, go onto Epic, go onto EA Play for some reason. I don't know why.
If you must.
Go onto Ubisoft. I forgot the fucking name of
Is it still called Uplay or does it change?
Uplay.
Is it still called Uplay?
That's the fucking thing's name.
Okay.
I think so. I haven't installed one of their games in ages.
Yeah,
but basically, I can go into other stores and find all the other shit. But the reason why I prefer the spawning pool is because, yes, there's a lot of crap on there, but it's crap that somebody has done. It's natural selection at its finest, you know? Somebody makes a bad game, kills their drive to make any more bad games. It's the exact same as man eats plant, man dies, other man sees man die, and man doesn't eat plant.
But
Done.
But at the same time, bad games don't get rewarded. Although actually that's not really true, because a lot of bad games do get rewarded on Steam because of various scam things. But really good games, say like one random dude, he's a guy, he's a developer, he spent 3 years making a game, he releases it, no one buys it, and it's a great game. Then it's the same natural selection thing. People who have talent get pushed down because of how much shit there is. So
No.
It hits you both ways.
This is where you are wrong. This is where you fail to see the broader scope of natural selection in the sense. What I'm talking about is not the individual that makes a sacrifice to innovate. It's the people who are able to learn from someone else's innovation and take it a step further. For someone like me, I see a game that nobody has played, but it's a good game. I take aspects from that game and carry on. I learn and I evolve to make something better. Now, a lot of the time, yes, you're going to have those life forms or those games that exist purely there for money or for a scam. And that is fine, because you need to learn what not to do. Right? You'll get games that are massively successful with a quick, easy gameplay loop that's raked in millions. I'm looking at you, Candy Crush. But there's nothing to learn from that, right? So even highly successful games are dead ends. So what I'm trying to say is that from my perspective, I'm looking at this like my Windows computer allows me to access so many stores that allow me to see, yes, a whole lot of shit, but I can still learn, and there are innovations that spring up and people learn from each other. We see this. I mean, look at this. Technically, yes, Microsoft, because of Xbox, but take Gears of War, the reloading on Gears of War, where you had time reload. If you just let it reload, it would take long, but if you hit that sweet spot, you reload with extra ammo, or attack bonus, a damage bonus, whatever. That little innovation to kind of make reloading a little bit more interactive has been used in so many other games. And that's just taken from, they just had a cool little idea. I'm going to take that and add it into another game. And games evolve out of that. I mean, there's a reason why humanity is at such an evolved level and everything else is not. There's a reason why fucking mosquitoes still exist. Right? Think of all the shitty indie games as mosquitoes, and as the games get better, the fewer and fewer you see. And if you're able just to cut out, if you're one of those people that aren't looking like me for good mechanics and things that work well to be able to add and learn from, and you just want quality, you can cut the lower half out and take from the top, right? The thing is, it allows for anybody to innovate, and it allows majority of ideas are bad, and they get the harshness of it. And some games are missed that have innovated, but there's still room for anybody to innovate. Just a simple game mechanic could change everything about a game, right? Whereas when you've got the genetics lab at Sony, which are tailor picking features and adding it on, yes, it's a more refined experience because the thing was born in a tank. It received all the best, and it came out wonderfully, right? But the fact is, most of the innovation is relied on a few minds. The majority of innovation in Sony are credited to the minority of minds there. And the problem you're going to have with that is that either you're going to have games that are samey, like a lot of games that are samey in terms of mechanics and gameplay, getting into that Ubisoft area of things, or you're going to have a real genius spike. But the problem is, once that genius spike is done, you rely on the same person to do it again and again and again, and you wear out that resource pool until eventually you tailor pick some new people to come in and do it. And that is sustainable. But what it doesn't do is create this, it doesn't support that violent eruption of ideas that can basically turn a simple platform into a multi-billion-dollar organization.
I think the only problem there is that, like, the majority of, say, mechanical innovation does not come from AAA spaces at all. It's not Microsoft, it's not Sony, so it doesn't really have anything to do with Sony or whatever. And also because, like, say, Windows, if you wanted a truly, open thing, you wouldn't be using Windows, you'd be using something more like Linux, which is, an open source operating system. So I think Microsoft just happened to get in at the right time. They happened to make a system which isn't necessarily, like, it's not really necessarily the best system either. It's just the one that most people use, which doesn't make it the best. It just makes it the most popular, which isn't really, the same thing. And I would say most innovation happens in indie spaces. So it's more from Sony and itch if you're looking for, like, mechanical innovations. But, like, say, graphical and technological innovation, sure, that's in the AAA, but that's because they can afford it. And those innovations I wouldn't really call evolutionary in the sense that you are talking about. You're talking about more just mechanical things, because people making prettier leaves is not really going to be a major evolutionary change from, like, one company to the next. They're all kind of doing the same thing. Like, it's not really that.
Not so much mechanics, but more design of a game.
Design,
right?
I include design under, like, mechanics, mechanical.
I would still say that there are very few people in Sony that have major design leaps forward. I would say there's about 2 or 3 of them, and the rest of the games they produce are top quality. Like, the story is top quality, the graphics are top quality, the mechanics are refined, but it's not innovation.
But I'd say the same of Microsoft. Like, the only reason...
Yes, of course.
They just buy indies who can innovate, which...
No, of course, that is 100% it. But my argument wasn't on what Microsoft can produce. I'm saying that Microsoft offered... that's at the moment that Microsoft released Windows, it was over because, well, I would say around about Windows XP, it was over. Once they moved from DOS, like, no console could compete with it. In terms, well, first it was like, oh yeah, consoles can never be as graphically exaggerated or enhanced as PC is.
Yeah.
But that's starting to change, yes. But what I'm trying to say is that the person that innovates is the indie, right? And very few indies are able to afford an Apple, right? A Mac product, which leaves him to Windows. And yes, you could say there's Linux, but honestly, Linux are for hipsters and people that have to work with Linux for a living. That's really where it is. If you're a game developer and your choice is to rather develop on Linux, you're part of that natural selection as to why no one has done it.
But
it's Microsoft has provided a platform for all of this, but what I really appreciate is that it's an open garden where anybody can innovate. Yeah, AAA. If look, I don't play COD. If Microsoft doesn't buy ABK, so what? They're still shitty. ABK is still shitty. It's still going down the toilet. I couldn't give a damn. I will preserve my StarCraft game. Oh wait, I already have it preserved. I still got a cracked StarCraft from fucking 2004. So I'm not sweating bullets on either end. I would love to see WoW crash because the more and more it continues, the more and more I hate it when I play.
Yeah, fuck, it's
I
just...
never played Overwatch. I never played Overwatch, but hero shooters for me have always been a hit or miss. I'm not a fan of liking a hero and then somebody else takes it and now I can't take that hero. Like, I don't like that. I've never liked that.
Can only one person play as a character in Overwatch?
Yes.
Oh, fuck.
On sides. So you can have the same character on either side, but only one person can pick. If you play Paladins, which is free to play and get on Epic, which you won't because it's a multiplayer game, but it's a hero shooter and the exact same things apply. Like I said, I don't like maining a character, but then because someone else had better had better internet, or just I wasn't paying attention, now I can't play my main. That to me, yes, you get the opportunity to be forced to learn this, and any hero shooter fan will tell you, but that's not the point. You get to play as multiple characters. You get to learn them and you feel better the more you play with them. And I would like to say, okay, cool, that's your opinion, now listen to mine. That's like, I'm not going to argue with you on your preference of game. I'm just saying that I prefer the spawning pool over the tailored garden because yes, you could get some beautiful plants from that garden. But if it's just a example of what the highest of quality can get out of something, it's impressive and it probably is going to be worth my while investing time into. But from a game developer perspective, what I'm really in it for is design. Like Horizon Zero Dawn had this thing, like everybody had done the thing where the camera looks, the assets load just outside of the camera look range so that it looks like you're just going through an environment, whereas behind you and to the sides of you, it's actually empty, right? Horizon took it a step further because they wanted to have better textures and better geometry on the ground. They cut up the ground and did the exact same thing, but with the ground. Now, it's very impressive that they went through the effort of cutting up the ground and modularizing it so that it loads in. But the fact is, the loading in of assets where the camera is looking is not, it's not a new thing. Games have been doing it for years. So it's not innovation. It is showing you what the top quality use of such a mechanic or such a feature is, but it's not innovating on top of it. Do you understand?
Yeah, but
like
but that is
like what's it? One of the greatest innovations I ever thought of was actually from Metal Gear, the first one, where you fought the one. I think it's the last. No, it's not the last. You fought the one guy. I think it was like Pain or something like that. And when he controlled you. You actually could take your controller out of the first slot and plug in the second slot. And that to me was just fucking mind-blowing. And that kind of... Yes, not every game needs it. It's the fact is someone thought of that, and that's what I love. But right now...
But also at the same time, is that an innovation or a gimmick? Because like you don't want other games to do that all the time. It will very, very quickly be irritating.
The gimmick is forcing you to do it as like, okay, you got me. But the innovation here is thinking outside of the console.
Yeah. No, I
right? There was that God of War thing where you could call a number hidden in the game, and Kratos would answer. That is cool because it's an Easter egg. Yes, it's been done before. Yes, it is it's a gimmick, but it is it laid the way for more types of its innovation, right? You could say that single moment led to Dark Souls allowing players to putting hints on the floor, because it's interaction externally but internally within the game. It takes you outside to reality, but it's still happening in the game, if you know what I mean. Outside influences from reality are coming into the game. And things like that. Yes, the first time it's used is absolutely shit. But the next time it's used, if it's done at a higher quality, it could be great. Right? And what I'm trying to get at here is that Sony has a high standard of quality, and it refines the shit out of things. Which is always good if you want to know what a regular game is. that's great. But I'm bored of regular games. I like games that try something different. Try something that might not be good or might be fucking amazing in another game. You know? It might be the start of it, but then it just goes completely insane. Like for instance, Half-Life 2 with their physics system, right? Now we've got Battlefield where whole cities fall apart. That's not innovation. That's just refining a mechanic. You understand?
Yeah.
So I guess my main problem is just with AAAs in general, which unfortunately is Sony in that regard, as they do produce AAA quality. Not the joke of AAA. I'm talking about like what we should be expecting from all other AAAs. But the innovation side is very slow on their end.
Yeah, but
apart from the three people that come up with better ideas.
I think though that like say Sony, maybe they don't really innovate, they refine a lot. But I would say the same of Microsoft. They also don't really innovate, they just refine. They just give people
definitely.
They just give people the tools through which they can innovate, which I don't think really makes it any different to like the Mac OS or Linux. Like, I don't think it's any better or worse. Although I say that having never used Linux or like a Mac before, so I don't know if they're completely closed garden. I mean, Linux isn't. Linux is more open than Microsoft.
Than anything. Linux is basically build your own operating system. You get the standard Linux like Ubuntu, and then you add onto it, developing your own. It's like Unity in a sense where Unity comes default, and then you have a lot of plugins, a lot of add-ons that add onto it to make it designed for you, right? Think of Windows as Unreal, where it has a whole host of things that you can use, but there's still space for you to add more onto it, right? Now, you might not want all the bells and whistles, so you want Linux for that, but Windows has a very nice UX, user experience with it because of all the people that have used it. Mac is all about user experience.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
It is all about how you figure your way out. But the problem with Mac is that it's kind of like a console, like a Sony console. It's so designed to run within itself that any extra things will make it fall apart. Like, you can't take out a graphics card out of a console and plug in a new one.
Yeah.
It would just break everything. So that's kind of like my experience with Mac. But mainly, I don't give a damn about Microsoft, Xbox, and Sony PlayStation, right? I'm in it for the games, which is kind of why I'm mostly when I want to mention a game that's got really nice things, I'll talk about an old game, because back in the day they were making innovations that it still impresses me that they were able to do so, and at such a level, and yet people still haven't taken it further. But when it comes to the whole ABK Microsoft monopoly boo bad, I say either way, I think what needs to happen is that like Blizzard is basically is dead to me. Their innovation is dead. The last major games that they've released have either been remakes or casual play bullshit. Right?
You know, actually, just by the way, I think that might actually be a good indication, maybe, because I think that to you, Blizzard went down when they got acquired by Activision.
No. They were still like, I still liked StarCraft 2. I still liked World of Warcraft all the way up to Legion. So, I wouldn't say that Blizzard died the moment they Activision came in. I would say that the moment they had that thing, remember Blizzard announced to the old staff, take a good severance package, they'll give you a good word and you leave, right? I remember that coming up because there was a whole big thing about it where Blizzard was basically trying to get rid of its old staff and bring in new, fresh staff.
Yeah.
That's when Blizzard died. Because they didn't, because the talent that came in must have been amazing.
But also remember.
But they didn't have any projects to really.
Yeah, but I think like
use that.
An acquisition, like a merger, doesn't lead to a loss of innovation immediately. It takes a few years. So I just did check. Activision bought Blizzard in, or merged with Blizzard in 2008, and that's like 2 years before StarCraft 2. And you said it was a couple years afterwards where you felt that it sort of declined. So it did decline after the merger, but you can't.
No, I'm going to blame King.
But
I'm going to blame King. That's where I blame. I'm going to blame King.
I think one of the problems is that you can't actually know. Like you don't necessarily know who is to blame for fucking things up, which.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It would be a lot easier if we just knew, you know. Like,
I think
you fucked it up. Okay, cool.
Personally, here's what I think. I think Blizzard needs to die. Yes, it means the shutting down of WoW, the shutting down of Overwatch, all of this, right? Yes, it's harsh and it's going to hurt a lot of people, but what's even worse is watching their franchise. Like, Overwatch is only experiencing it now, but WoW or Warcraft fans have been decaying since they released Wrath of the Lich King, right? Slowly going downhill. So that franchise is kaput. Diablo was continuing for a while, and now it's just remakes, right? Trying to keep the fan base there until what? Until they come up with something new. You've got I'm trying to think now. You know, I actually have my Battle.net open as I go through all of these games. Okay, so that was just like the Blizzard. So I just feel like for the Blizzard side of things, right? There's already not much left to suck out of it. It's dead. Overwatch fans are gonna have it. Yes, they may have been okay with Overwatch 2.0, but sooner or later they're gonna feel what we're all feeling. Alright?
Yeah.
And then I would say, if I take a look at all games on the Battle.net app, right, you've got Call of Duty Warzone 2.0, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Call of Duty Vanguard. You've got this horrible Warcraft Arclight Rumble, which again just shows Blizzard's decay. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, remastered campaign. What? I can't read that. Campaign remastered, right? Call of Duty Black Ops. The only thing on the Battle.net store that Activision has contributed is 2 franchises. And that is Call of Duty and Crash Bandicoot 4. It's About Time. That's it. That's all that's listed under Activision, right? And at this point in time, the only thing that Blizzard has, in my opinion, is Diablo and WoW. Yes, they have Overwatch, but it's still, I would still say it's new. It has its fan base, but there's only so much a hero shooter can go for before it can't innovate anymore without becoming something other than a hero shooter, right? It's the exact same thing with MOBAs. They can't get out of their game loop, so to speak, without changing so much that they no longer form part of that genre. I would love to see them try, because sometimes you can get really good combinations, but for now, the money is real, so it's good to stick in your lane. But really, like, so what if Call of Duty is this big hotshot that's going to earn you lots of money? The fact is, something's got to give, right? If they struck a deal where Microsoft doesn't buy Activision but rips King and Blizzard from ABK, right? Which I don't think can happen, but whatever. If they do something like that, then they're able to either put new life into it or euthanate the 2 companies, right? Because in my mind, King just doesn't know, right? I know some people must love their games, but for me, it's not. It's kind of like that filler. It doesn't contribute anything to the gaming space other than makes money, right? And Blizzard just needs to die now. It just needs to just lay down, and die. Activision can still go on, but the problem is Activision cannot stand on its own. Hence, and obviously all these allegations and blah blah blah, it's unwilling to stand on its own. So then who's going to back it up? Who's going to give it more money? Because if Call of Duty is selling so well, do you think that if this thing... Think about it like this. If this thing doesn't go through, Call of Duty's prices will still go up. Why? Because there's no comfy cushion anymore. They have to push the prices up to get people playing. To keep the company alive. Right? Yes, they can still sell through both outlets. And yes, now you've broken the monopoly and you've stopped Sony from losing so much money. But the game, for the individual, not for the company, the game will still be expensive. Right? Whereas on Microsoft's end, it will also still be expensive. So, as the consumer, we don't get much out of this. Whether it's owned or independent, it is still going to be expensive. And it's still going to be a COD game.
Yeah, no, I agree. And also, I actually think what you said about it being King's fault, I think there might actually be something to that. Because, yeah, a bunch of those Blizzard games just became mobile games, didn't they?
Yeah. Elder Scrolls Blades, Diablo Immortals, there's Arclight Rumble for Warcraft.
Yeah, I think it's also just really shit because
Hearthstone.
Like games like Call of Duty, FIFA, and mobile games make a lot more money than the games that are actually good. Like,
yeah,
they do. Like, whenever you see these things where they'll be like, oh, this game was a runaway success, it sold, 8 million copies, and you're like, every year, FIFA sells like 18 million copies of his fucking game. So, yeah. But, we've been talking about this for a fucking long time. Should we move on?
Yeah, sorry about that audience that doesn't exist. But, yes, that was just... Hey, it's been a while. It's a 2 cents report. This is just our nonsense. You know us.
Very true. Very true. So, are you ready for the next one?
Yes.
So I thought these are quite small stories, so they shouldn't take too long. The last one is kind of the one that I would like to laugh about. So, but the other ones are just kind of quick things. So it's been confirmed. Now, you have played The Witcher, the first one.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So
particularly the first one, yes.
Okay, so like the first one, it's not an open world game. It's like a open-ended level-based game, But they've confirmed that the Witcher remake is going to be an open world game. So they are going to be change it up a bit. So that's just a small thing, which should be cool to see. Then there was this news that I was very happy about because I love the creatures. But there is now a console. Okay, now, look out, Microsoft. There's a new console on the market. Oh yeah, it's for dogs. It's called Joypaw, and the idea is that it's actually to help dogs with, because it according to they brought out all their stats and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's great to know that a large proportion of dogs that are pets end up getting dementia when they get old, and this is actually a console designed to help keep their minds active so that they don't get dementia, because dementia is caused by doing nothing, pretty much. It's people... I mean, that's what happens when you retire. You then die. Like, retiring is bad. As soon as you retire, you die. And this console is kind of to help dogs. Where people say you have to work, so you're not in the house all the time, and the dog basically has a toy that it can play with, but it's a video game. I did immediately think, my old Kayla can't use it because she's blind, so, it won't work for her. But I'm sure for a dog that's trained to use it, they have like a video of a dog using it, and it's very cute. It's like they have multiple games. The one was like a match pairs kind of thing, and like a whack-a-mole kind of game. So it just kind of keeps their minds occupied so that they don't get dementia when they get old.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Now, Tristan, it's been a long time, but we promise, Tristan, we promise this time it's real. Okay? We promise. It is definitely coming out next year. But we know, we've said this before, and there's been like 4 developers on this game, but now it is. Dead Island 2 is coming out next year.
Okay, wait, I have to ask something about this. Obviously, Dying Light 2 kind of like arrived.
It's not Techland. They're not involved.
Okay. That was actually going to be my actual question is, what studio is making it? Is it Jaeger still?
No, Jaeger's gone. That was like fucking 5 years ago.
Well, this game was announced like 5 years ago. Come on now.
Yeah, they were
coming next week.
I think they worked on it for like a year, and it's some it's some like random ass studio that I have never heard of before. Do I actually have the name of it here? It's now in development by Dam Buster Studios. They developed
I've heard of them.
Homefront: The Revolution, which people didn't really like very much. So
wait, which Homefront had like a full version of Time Splitters in it?
I think it's this one. So that is one cool thing, but it's not that. But it's just that the game. They also worked on.
Yeah.
They also assisted with Chorus, which was like a recent game which I never played and have never heard of until I looked at this. So yeah, they don't really have much like experience behind them, but you know, they're making Dead Island 2. So yeah, it's definitely coming out, Tristan. Anyway,
yeah.
The next thing, and this is kind of hilarious because non-gamers keep on being confused because people keep using game footage and then labeling it as genuine war footage. And the Armor developers came out to be like, listen, people keep on using footage from our games, claiming it's real footage, and using it in propaganda videos. Like Russia and stuff uses game footage. And they're like, these are some things to watch out for. And they post like all these things that could potentially indicate that it's not a game. Or that it is a game and it's not real footage. But yeah, they seem to be quite pissed off that their games keep on being used for propaganda footage. Which I understand. That would be quite irritating. But yeah, that's Armor. Seeing as we were talking about the other kind of boomer shooter. The last of the funny little stories. This is from yesterday, and I find this fucking hilarious. Teslas now have Steam integration. Now, you might immediately wonder, is it a good idea to play a game while driving a car? And no, it's not a good idea. But remember, Tristan, Teslas have self-driving, and they only sometimes stop on freeways randomly and cause accidents. It's only happened a couple 100 times. So, it's fine. But also, that's not going to be an issue because the Steam integration doesn't work if the car's moving. So, if, Tristan, you have lots of money and you buy a Tesla, and you're like, you know what, should I sit at my desk where it's nice and comfortable, or should I take my mouse and keyboard to my car and play in there like a weirdo? So, yeah.
No.
That.
Don't get me wrong, right? I like the idea of if you don't have, like, a Steam Deck.
If you can afford a Tesla, you can afford a Steam Deck.
Say I had to go to take somebody or pick someone up at the airport, right? No, not the airport. I'll just say I need to go pick somebody up or wait for somebody, and I know they're going to take long. I will then park the car and play some games. Yes, that's fair. But I can assure you, I will never own a Tesla in this country or any electrical vehicle for that matter, because we've got load shedding, and I'm not about to be driving somewhere and then and now my batteries run out, and now there's no place that can charge it.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
That's the one use in which I'm like, okay, yes, I see that is a use for it, but does that happen to you so often that you would justify a console in your car? Like, maybe if you're an Uber driver, but really as an Uber driver, you don't want to be sitting still. You want to be driving people places. So, yeah. But anyway. Now, the next thing is actually 5 stories in one. They're not about the same thing, it's just that they are all thematically linked. Because the last few weeks have been a very weird time for apparently fucking loads of games and shit being adapted into movies and series. So there's going to be there's going to be a Fallout series by Amazon. There's going to
Oh, great. We know they're really great at adapting content.
There's going to be a Sifu movie. Which...
Okay, fine. Okay, well, Sifu is based... Yeah, no, I can see that happening.
No, but also, this is the one that I would probably say is the one that's most likely to succeed, because the Sifu movie is being headed up by the guy that made John Wick. So...
yeah, you see?
I think that might work. There's also going to be a Toe Jam and Earl movie, which hasn't been relevant since the 90s.
I haven't heard that. Oh my goodness, you are throwing nostalgia. Okay, carry on going.
Now the next one is not a game. It's instead an anime that is getting a live action adaptation, but just as to cordon it off, it is being adapted by a Japanese director. So it's not like an American director. And yeah, but still there's going to be a My Hero Academia live action movie. Which I'm like, okay. And there's also going to be...
Like that has ever worked, but okay, I mean, like, I'm not a fan of anime live action, unless it's GTO.
I knew you were going to say GTO. I would say I did enjoy the Bleach movie, but also I've never read or seen any Bleach before, so it could just be that was, I didn't have any experience with it, but... there is actually an adaptation, a live-action adaptation, and it kind of made at the same time, and they're both great, but it's of, Way of the House Husband. I don't know if you've seen Way of the House Husband.
No, wait, Way of the House Husband.
Yeah.
Are you talking about, on Netflix?
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I have been meaning to watch it, though.
It's very entertaining.
I haven't seen it yet because I just finished, what they have of the... Uncle from Another World, and I watched it. I was like, okay, cool, and then I was gonna go into that, but I stopped just before that. But yes, I have seen it. I just haven't watched it.
Yeah, the Way of the House, it's very entertaining. And then there's a live action version called Ingenuity of Your House Husband, which because like Way of the House Husband, he's a house husband, but he does like all sorts of things to like clean up and cook and everything. And the live action version is basically like a comedy like how-to program, like best ways to clean or like sharpen. It's like, so it works. But usually, I would agree, live-action anime does not work. That
unless it's GTO.
I haven't seen the GTO, so I can't comment, but I will agree with you.
Oh man, I had to go into the archives of the internet. There's actually 2 live-action series of GTO, right? 2 of them. One is more superior than the other, but they both are good because they both embody the core of what GTO is.
I think also a live-action adaptation works more when it's a very human story. Like, for instance, I think you also enjoyed it. We both enjoyed the Cowboy Bebop live-action adaptation.
Oh, yeah.
So...
yeah, I did.
But there's not, like, monsters and shit. I think as soon as you start... That's why, because Netflix is also making a One Piece live-action series. And I'm like, ooh...
Dude, it's filmed in Cape Town.
Really?
Yes. Okay, how I know about this, right, is I heard about it and I didn't look into it. And I went to F&B, to my bank, because I needed, long story short, I need to sort out account stuff. And I went in there with my One Piece hoodie. And I walked in and the person was like, okay, yeah, what are you here for? He touched a little screen, he handed me my ticket. And then he asked, am I on the One Piece set? And I was like, no, I'm not on the One Piece set. What One Piece set? And he's like, oh, his cousin is working on the One Piece set as one of the people that built the stages. And he had One Piece merch on, so he thought that I was also working on the set. And I looked it up and I was like, One Piece is being filmed in Cape Town.
Okay. I mean, I would still say cause for concern because I don't think that characters with weird abilities like stretchy limbs really works well in live action most of the time. It doesn't look
I have my doubts about the characters. But the set design, I went and I saw some images. The set design is really well done.
Okay, yeah.
I wouldn't say it's spot on because it's impossible to get the One Piece style without shit breaking. Like, it's not a structurally sound art style to develop.
Yeah.
In the real world. But I do have my problem where you're gonna have the uncanny valley of too much bad CGI put onto the characters.
Yeah, that's
right.
That's my concern.
My honest opinion is, with all of these live actions, right? If you want to watch it, fucking watch it. Go for it. But don't expect it to be like the anime.
Yeah.
That's what I did with Cowboy Bebop, and I had a fun time. That's what I did with Dynasty Warriors. I didn't even play Dynasty Warriors, any of the games. But I enjoyed the movie, the live action movie.
It's very silly. It's great.
It's silly, yes, exactly. I detested the latest Resident Evil series that came out. And the reason why I detest it is because I still find that if they just had to use more, how to say it, if they didn't have to make it so West every time they remade the fucking thing, right, it would be better, right? Your what's his name? Your favorite director, your Ubo Gol, or whatever the fuck his name is.
Uwe Boll. Are you saying my favorite director is Uwe Boll?
Yes. He is okay because he's the reason why I'm like, oh, there's nothing like the games. He's a shit director. At least he's trying, right? I'm only gonna fault a movie on does it hold up as a good movie. Let's take a look at Avatar: The Last Airbender. Yes, it was adapted from a cartoon.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a good movie because the writing was bad. I'm pretty sure the casting could have been better, but overall, the directing was bad.
Yeah, it wasn't great. I also hated the choreography. It was terrible.
Yeah, I mean, like, how much fucking moves do they need to do to move a stone from left to right? It was killer.
Yeah.
But that's just a bad movie, right? Now, obviously, you're not going to get a big director onto things that, or skilled director onto things like game projects. Unless, it's Steven Spielberg, which did that Ready Player One, which I thought was phenomenal. Mainly because he handled references well. Obviously, people are like, oh yeah, he just shoved them in front of you. Yes, but kind of the sheer scale of the amount of references that were in there, you probably missed 90% of the references on your first watch, because if they weren't being shoved in you were so focused on the story and what's actually going on, they focused on all the references, Obviously, things like the Iron Giant were shoved in front of you. They're like, hey, look, it's the Iron Giant. Hey, look again, it's the Iron Giant, Hey, look, it's Akira's motorcycle. Look at it. It's Akira's motorcycle. Like, that kind of thing. Obviously, you're going to notice it and you're going to be like, okay, fanfare. But what you don't notice is all the smaller references. Obviously, I noticed Commander Shepard dancing in the club, but not many people did notice him dancing in the club. Things like that, right? And even then, that movie is more of a fan service than an adaptation. So when you're looking at really good adaptations to movies, from games to movies, you're not going to find it. And because I probably ranted about this before, but the thing that makes a game great is the fact that you're experiencing it. The thing that makes a movie great is that you're seeing it through someone else's eyes. That's it. You can't have a game that's directly adapted into a movie because it doesn't work. But to make it its own thing, you just need better direction and resources, as proven by Cowboy Bebop. And yeah, I'm in this case I won't mention GTO because the productions weren't that great, but because it's because the guy embodies who Onizuka is, it makes it worth watching. Like, the live action's pale in comparison to the anime, of course. But GTO is GTO, and he still stays GTO, and that's what I like about it.
Yeah, no, that is perfect. But one. This is not one of the Newsies ones, but one that does look pretty good is there's going to be that live action Last of Us series for HBO. That looks pretty good, but I mean, it's just post-apocalyptic story, so it should work.
I think they can pull it off, right? With the right actors, they can pull it off. It's also like, I know people lean heavily on Henry Cavill when it comes to nerdy stuff, right? Because he's presented him his way and stuff like that. I mean, with Henry Cavill leaving The Witcher and not reprising his role as Superman.
Yeah, that was a fuck
he's
up.
kind of yeah, he's kind of left to this whole thing now. Everybody's like, oh no, he should play Archer, and my thing is, hell no, Archer should stay a cartoon. The reason why I don't want a live action Archer is because Archer's voice is too fucking unique.
Yeah. Also, I would say like Archer is a parody of Bond. Just watch James Bond and be like, realize how terrible it is, and be like, oh, they just exaggerated it in an Archer. There's already a live action Archer. Just watch that.
Exactly. There's so much opportunities to make good content, like good game movies. But what I insist is, don't make a movie based on a game following that exact game's path. What I like obviously with The Last of Us, that's a little bit tricky, but I like the idea of a movie in the same universe as the game, where you maybe where the movie may be going parallel to the main game. You know, like if they had to make a Half-Life game, obviously casting Gordon Freeman is just he's silent. He doesn't do anything.
And if he speaks, it'll be a betrayal.
But maybe you could have a movie during the time of his disappearance, watching the rise of the Combine. Well, something like that.
That is something that gives me some level of hope about the Fallout series, because the Fallout series is not directly adapting any of the central narratives of any of the games. So it's going to be in the world, and it's going to be its own story in the world. And I'm like, I much prefer that. That's better.
Yes.
Because
that's so much better.
Because also, here's the thing. Imagine if they were to adapt New Vegas. You know that they would do, like, the NCR path, because it's the one least likely to offend people, because, like, you can't have them doing the character being a Legion character, because you'd be like, oh, that's overtly evil. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
So it would have to be the most boring possible option, where if you could set it in the same world, it would work great. Like, imagine, like, a side story with, like, I don't know, the Brotherhood, or the NCR, or something. It could work well.
It could. It really could. And also, there's also the thing of your target audience is probably going to be people that have played the game, right? Unless you're Amazon and your target audience is whoever the writers are designating the target audience, right? But if you're making a live action of a game, your first and foremost target audience are the people that play the games. Now, yes, it's a bit of a nostalgia thing, but I don't see the point of rehashing the same steps. As a gamer, if you made a New Vegas game, I'm going to know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm going to know what happens when you side with the gun runners and you go against the rush, the Silver Rush.
Yeah.
I know what happens. You obliterate them because that's how the game's supposed to be.
Yeah, and I think that's also why the Fallout thing would work, because, like, also the Fallout games don't really follow from each other. They each have independent stories. So just make an independent story. It's fine. It'll work. It can work. Won't necessarily work. Hopefully it works.
Well, yeah, now it's just up to direction and story. But definitely, I will never shit on a movie made or a series adapted from a game or another franchise or another medium, I would say, unless I've watched it and I can be like, yes, it actually is. It's a bad movie whether you had it in that universe or not. And that's how I feel about The Last Airbender, and that's how I feel about Rings of Power. It's bad because it's not bad because you're trashing over my beloved franchise. It's bad because it's bad.
I don't think Rings of Power was terrible. I think it was fine, but also I love
the agenda pushing inside Rings of Power is just too much.
I don't know which agenda though. I don't think there was really an agenda. Like,
well, the whole thing about What's fucking the name?
Galadriel?
Yes.
Galadriel's always been a warrior. Like, she's been a warrior.
No. Hear me out here, right? I don't like characters who have no growth, no character growth. They are powerful, they are skilled, and at the end of the day, they are still powerful and they are still skilled. Maybe they've picked up a love interest along the way, but their core has not changed, right? And that's what I didn't like about it.
The thing is, I mean, it does make sense for her character. She's thousands of years old. She's not gonna She's not gonna change over the course of a few, days.
But then find a better character. Find a better character. Again, that's the thing. It's taking this character that you, because of lore, you cannot have go through that arc.
Yeah,
yet
it is difficult because, I mean, I was a bit worried about what exactly they were adapting, because I've read, like, the Silmarillion and everything. I know I was a big Tolkien fan, of all the lore stuff as well, the background shit. And I was like...
Yeah, but I don't.
Yeah.
And I can still see, for me, again, it's bad because it's bad. Because you don't make your central character somebody that the audience cannot relate to. And definitely somebody that is incapable of changing, because if they change, it would take away from what happens later. We know she's powerful. We know do not fuck with this person. So just watching a series where we're constantly reminded that nothing will ever happen to them, nothing substantial. You put a character like that, that's also something I don't like about prequels. You put a character like that in any sort of danger and you don't have to be worried because it's a prequel. Obviously they made it through. And that's why I say that I'm not complaining about whatever happened to the lore, about whatever the writers did. I'm complaining about it being bad because it's bad because the main character is bad. It's not that the person that the character itself is bad, but they chose that character as a main character and that was bad.
I had nothing against Galadriel, but I don't really think she was the best central character either.
Thank you.
But because I love the okay, they weren't called that yet because I think it's still very early days, but the hobbits in it, that whole story.
Yeah, the not hobbits.
I love
okay,
I love that.
That was nice.
I love that.
And the obvious Gandalf.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
So I like that. Don't get me wrong. I like those parts. I don't give a shit if people are like, oh, but the law. My thing was, don't give me a character that is incapable of change and I can't connect to. Otherwise, I'm not interested. I'm skipping to get to the scenes where other people that are more vulnerable and more capable of change, then I watch them.
Yeah, that's why I think it does work at this because I mean I also like the Elrond arc with his Durin friend. I think there are a lot of great. One thing I don't like, and this has been going on since fucking Peter Jackson got his hands on The Hobbit, where it looks very overproduced in many ways to me. I don't really like the aesthetic. I think like Lord of the Rings looks very grounded. It still looks good now.
It's all the CGI.
Yeah.
No. Lord of the Rings looks fantastic. The thing is,
The Hobbit looked shit when it came out.
Instead of trying to make the world look fantastical, the world looks real.
Yeah.
And that's the winner right there.
Yeah, it works so well.
You could imagine standing there with them. Whereas the whole fantastical nature of these worlds that are all... Yeah, sometimes they use live assets or real assets, but most of the time it's CGI and you can't really feel like you're in that immersion if again, it's hard to connect. Now they've given you a character that you can't connect with and a world that you struggle other than saying, oh, it's a fantasy, right?
Yeah.
Complete cop-out.
No, I
Lord of the Rings is a fantasy, but I feel like I could have gone and visited. If I was in that world, I feel 100% that I could have touched and felt, tasted.
I'd say like the Witcher.
Things like that.
The Witcher also kind of feels very like grounded most of the time. Sometimes it goes into the more fantastical, but it
honestly, even the games in The Witcher feel more grounded until you get until you realize, like me, that you have powers that you should definitely use, and that's why the Wraith is killing you.
Yeah,
because you're not locking it. Yeah.
But there's one more movie project or series. There's going to be a God of War adaptation adapting the 2018 reboot, and
I heard something about this.
Yeah, my only problem is who the fuck is going to play Kratos?
Henry Cavill probably. Honestly, I don't mind who they cast. The part I heard about is that people bitching, why is Kratos voiced by a black man and yet he's the whitest person ever in the games? And now who they're gonna cast?
Yeah, I know.
And my thing is, fuck it, cast Terry Crews. I don't care.
You know, fuck that.
The fact of
that would actually be great. I think if they cast just like a fucking big black guy, I think it would work.
Yes, but the thing is, they're gonna have to convert into white. If they're following the law. If they decide not to follow the law, because the law, Kratos isn't fucking pale because he doesn't go out in the sun.
That is,
Kratos is pale because of the ashes from his wife and children who were murdered.
Yeah, he's not a human.
So who he had to murder.
He's not human white. He's wrong white. He's.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure if people actually realize that Kratos is actually a bad motherfucker, they'll be like, oh, it's fine. You know, don't portray a black man killing his wife and kids for power.
Yeah,
portray a white man and people are happy with it.
Kratos has always been voiced by a black guy. The PS2 ones were also voiced by a black guy.
Yeah, but it's I don't care, right? So long as the character is true, right? Like I said, whether it's Henry Cavill, where it's Terry Crews, even if they get like the most un-Kratos person I can think of, which at this moment in time would be the I can't remember his fucking name. Who's that guy? Okay, wait, you might not know. Did you watch the DC movies?
No.
The latest ones.
Wait, what's the latest one?
Did you watch Now You See Me?
Is Now You See Me a DC movie? It's about magicians.
Okay, how about this? I don't care if Kratos is played by the same actor who played Pee Wee Herman, right?
That would be funny, though.
So long, I'll just, in my mind, it's just the modded version of it. I see this all the time. But in my mind, if they can get off the vibe of Kratos,
yeah,
right? People, yet in the PlayStation games, Kratos was fit. He wasn't as big as this latest one. This is a big Kratos that we have now. Like, even if they get like The Rock to play Kratos, which is people can't complain because he's not white. So, there. I mean, if they just had, I'm pretty sure people would be all fine with it if The Rock played it, so long as Kratos, the movie, took place in a jungle. They're both done. No one would complain. But what I'm trying to say is, if they can get that story across, if they could achieve it, then I'm happy.
Do you know?
I don't care if he's black or white, because that was simply a decision made because of the time period he came from.
Do you know who actually I think could probably work, because he can be very buff and big, and he can do good voices. He can sound deep. Is Tom Hardy? Because Tom Hardy was, well, my favorite movies with him, he was Legend. He was in Legend, which is fantastic. He's also, he was Bane in that really bad sequel to Dark Knight. And he was also, he was Venom. So I think, and Venom is voiced by him as well. So he voices himself and Venom. So I think that he could pull it off.
I think he could, but my main problem with it is that people just don't hire him. Like he did phenomenally in Venom, right? I also liked Kim as Bane, yes. But he always gets the most obscure roles.
He does.
And I know it's his picking, but
yeah.
I think I agree with you. I think he can do it, but the main issue here is he's white. Now, the only person who has been defended to hell and gone for doing a black voice, being a white man, and donning blackface is Robert Downey Jr. And he's only protected because he did a performance in a time where it wasn't exactly socially acceptable, but the rules were a lot lighter.
Well, I would say also in many ways Tropic Thunder gets away with it because it's a criticism of blackface. Like
it's fucking Tropic Thunder.
yeah, it's sort of saying blackface is bad. So I think I don't think you could.
But that's why I say
get away with straight doing it anymore.
Fuck it, let Terry Crews do it. He's proven himself many a time. Obviously, it's also up to the actor who wants to do it. I could imagine a Denzel Washington Kratos if I wanted
my only problem with like Terry Crews, I love Terry Crews, but I can't really think of him having done any like really properly serious roles. I only see him as a comedy actor, so I'm not sure. But earlier you mentioned Dwayne Johnson.
The focus can be on, The Rock can do it, right? The Rock can definitely do it. I mean, he's also got Black Adam under his belt now, and he's really getting into it. He also did Jumanji and stuff. But the problem I have with The Rock is that, to me, it's The Rock. That's it. The Rock personally doesn't act. The Rock is The Rock, just with a different priority. That's basically his acting.
Yeah, it'll be difficult to find a... See, this is the problem. Hopefully they'll find someone good, but whatever.
I believe in them. Until the movie comes out, or the series comes out, I won't shit on it until I've watched it. That's all.
No, I agree. Okay, so, good sir, we're on to our last story because last week was the Game Awards. Yay. They were like fucking 3 hours long.
Yeah.
So, some of the announcements: Death Stranding 2, Hades 2, which I'm much more excited about because Hades was fucking great. They're doing a sequel to the Star Wars Fallen Order.
Yes, I saw that. I was super excited when I saw that.
Yeah, so there's that coming out.
Cal looking all
the new game by Ken Levine is coming out called Judas. That's the guy. He was the director of BioShock and System Shock 2. So that should be interesting. See how it looks like a BioShock game. So including it looks like it has plasmids. So I'm like, my dude, fucking move on, do something new. But whatever. There's a new Valiant Hearts, which I'm happy about because I love Valiant Hearts. There's a Hellboy game coming out, which should be interesting. And then, this is the one that just to me is hilarious, first off, a tiny little thing. From Software's next game is not Dark Souls or Elden Ring or whatever, it's a new Armored Core game, which people were a bit confused about. They were like, oh, no.
Yes! Okay. Yes! Oh, okay. I just got really excited. I'm looking for it. I heard that they might be doing an Armored Core game. I was actually looking to it like a couple of weeks back into Armored Core 1 and stuff like that, like the first one. And that's one of those games where I'm like, the fucking ingenuity on this game, the innovation is so damn smart.
Yeah. Balancing
your mech out and stuff and the weight and stuff. So when I found out that the new Armored Core was coming, I got super excited.
So let's hope it's good. But the last thing, well, okay, there are more, but like the last of the major ones, like I don't, it's some kind of a crime game, don't really care. But they just decided to get a whole bunch of famous actors and stuff to be in it. So it's got like Michael Madsen in it. I don't know if you know Michael Madsen.
Probably do.
Well, have you seen Kill Bill?
Yeah.
Kill Bill Volume 2.
Mm-hmm. I've seen, yeah.
He's Bill's brother, the like hick guy who like lives in a trailer. He's also in Reservoir Dogs. He's the psycho guy in Reservoir Dogs. There's also Danny Trejo, who I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
Chuck Norris. Why not? And then my favorite one, and I have no idea why, Vanilla Ice.
Oh, the dude's alive.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. Like star power sometimes does do wonders, but yeah, let's just see how it goes, right?
Yeah, I saw all these like famous. It's also Michael Rooker, isn't it? Michael Rooker is the guy who is He was in Super. He's basically always in like James Gunn movies. He's the guy who's in like the head of the Ravagers in Guardians of the Galaxy. Star Killers like group. That guy.
I like him.
Yeah, he's great. He's also in it. Now, when it comes to the actual awards, because there's mostly announcements and then lots of trailers, like fuckloads of trailers, and really cringy ass things at the Game Awards, because of course it is. I don't know why they keep on having just the cringy ass people on these fucking shows, but whatever. So, the big winners were God of War Ragnarok won 6 awards, but it didn't win Game of the Year. Elden Ring won Game of the Year. It won 4 awards. And then Stray was the only other game to win. Well, actually another game also, but it's Final Fantasy like 14 or something, the online one. But Stray won 2 awards. And yeah. It's... Oh, and then did you hear about the end of the Game Awards, Tristan?
No, I didn't. I only watched the highlights, by the way.
Well, this was one of the highlights, but not for good reason. It's fucking weird. Elden Ring, the devs are all up there to accept their Game of the Year award, and they finish, and then randomly, a like very small person, like a kid, I don't know, maybe a teenager or something, he steps up to the mic and everyone looks confused, and he just says in like a mumbly voice that he would like to nominate like the great Rabbi Bill Clinton for this award. And then he walked off the stage with everyone else. And then Jeff Keighley, the host, walks back on, looking very confused about what the fuck just happened. Turned out some kid who, when he saw the Elden Ring team getting up, he fucking sprinted to be part of them. No one knows who the fuck this guy is. So he just gate crashed the thing. And then immediately afterwards, Jeff Keighley tweeted that he got arrested. So...
Okay, that's funny.
And
look, he had his moment in the spotlight, but yeah.
Yeah, and everyone was just like, and immediately afterwards, everyone was just like, did he say Bill Clinton? What
Rabbi?
What the fuck was that? So, yeah, very weird.
That's crazy. No, that that's something you can't take away from live events.
Yeah, you see, that is
the
that
randomness.
Is true, but no, it fuck. Still, all the other cringy shit, like they'll usually have like speakers and stuff who really shouldn't be there. Who, for instance, they managed. I don't know how the fuck they did this. They managed to make Keegan-Michael Key, who I'm sure you know from Key and Peele. He's a funny fucking guy. He is a funny guy. He is voicing Toad, I think, in the Mario movie.
Yes, I heard about that.
And so they had him on stage, and it was the cringiest shit. Like, bad jokes. Just really terrible, not funny. And I said this to Nina, where I said, the people who are at these award shows, are like industry, like people who work in the actual industry, and then media people, but never the cool media people. You know, they're not going to have the media people who are critical. They're going to have the ones who are like regurgitators of excitement and hype. So they scream for everything. They will like scream that a DLC got announced, which they did. They screamed because Horizon has a DLC, and you're like, is that a reason to scream for excitement? But okay, whatever. The fact that these people who get basically paid to pretend they're excited about things, if they weren't laughing, you know that was not a good set that he did. And it was it felt painful to see him trying to tell jokes, and it's just not funny, because I'm assuming he was given those jokes to tell.
Yeah, like pre-written, he just had to wing it.
Yeah, and it wasn't good. It's the same as they had the people who voiced Joel and Ellie also come on stage with the people who are playing Joel and Ellie in, so that the ones from the game and the one from the movies from The Last of Us on stage together, and it didn't. It
was cringy. Eh?
It was not good. It was not good. And you
game events are I like them. That's why I watch the highlights. I like them because of the new shit that's coming out. But I hate it's how the thing where weebs hate other weebs.
Yeah.
I'm like that. I'm like that. I'm a weeb that hates other weebs.
But
I'm also a gamer that can't stand the cringiness.
It's bad. It's painful.
Of gamers.
It's painful to watch, and you're just sitting there being like, oh. It's not. They also had a guy in a Crash Bandicoot mascot outfit come out and do like Crash Bandicoot style like dialogue sort of stuff, you know, where it's very like the whole point of Crash Bandicoot is that he's very 90s, you know. It's very like radical man, that kind of thing. It works for an exaggerated character. It doesn't work for a man in an outfit. It doesn't. It's not. It hurt.
It's cringy, okay? Like you are raising the cringeness by telling me this, and this is the shit that I want to avoid. Now, disregarded that, taking it into the podcast.
I will tell you all of this. Now, actually, the thing is, the cringiest thing that happened wasn't at this one. The cringiest thing I've ever seen at the Game Awards, I only saw after the fact when I wasn't watching the Game Awards a couple of years back, where it was partially sponsored by Gillette, or was it the other one? What's the other one? There's Gillette and there's Schick. It was Schick. And a man dressed as a Schick razor came on the stage, and Jeff Keighley spoke to him, and it's not good. It's not good. And do you actually want to know the saddest thing about the Game Awards this year? Was that Joseph Fares, he's the guy, I'm sure you have seen this thing, I'm sure I've told you about it as well because it's fucking hilarious. He was the guy who went, I'm sure he was on coke, he went really unhinged a few years ago on the Game Awards, where he started to rant about how the Game Awards are so much better than the Oscars. Do you remember this?
No, actually I don't.
It's fucking hilarious. You have to watch it because right, the Game Awards is trying to be a more professional event. And this guy, who I'm fucking shows on coke or drunk or a combination of the two, and he just comes out on stage to show off his new game. And Jeff Keighley's there with him, and he's like, oh yeah, now tell us about the game. And he's like, no, I will. But first, I just have to tell you, you know what? The Oscars are fucking shit. They're shit. The Game Awards, and then he like turns to Jeff Keighley, and he's like, am I allowed to swear? After he's already sworn several times, Jeff Keighley's like, yes. He's the Oscars are shit. They're shit. Just shit. This is so... And he just goes off on this tangent. And Jeff Keighley the whole time is trying to get him to calm down because they want to, like, show the game. And he's
get
like... He's like,
yeah.
I will. I just need to tell them. And they brought him back this year. But obviously they told him he has to behave. So he just presented the Game of the Year... And he didn't actually say anything funny. And I'm like, oh, come on. Just give the guy a line of coke. Just give him a microphone. Because that wasn't cringe. That was fucking hilarious. And
I think the reason why it's cringe is because we know it's fake. They know it's fake and cheap. And yet they're still presenting it to us.
See, that's why he was perfect, because he was not fake. You could see Jeff Keighley was very, very concerned about the amount of swearing. And he's like, this doesn't look good for advertisers. Joseph, you could tell us about your game. I will not. Just give me a few more minutes. So, yeah. It's probably the best thing that's ever come out of the Game Awards. But that wasn't this year. This year was great.
Yeah, this year was something. Yeah. But you know what? At least it's still going.
Yeah. It's a lot of people watch it. It's doing better than the Oscars at the moment, which is hilarious. But yeah, we have to see how it keeps going. But that is all of the news, good sir, and we've spoken for a fucking long time.
It's been a while, 2 hours in. I'm recording 2 hours and 6 minutes.
Yep.
But it's nice to have a chat. Like I said, it's for all those people that don't listen to the podcast.
Exactly.
And mainly because it creates content. I mean, I'm waiting for the time where I get rich and famous and then somebody shuts me down, cancels my company, me as a person, takes away all my millions and millions of dollars, just because I voiced my opinion on this podcast. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be great. Because then I can be like, aha, someone watched it.
Yeah. Exactly. Then we can sit back and be like, you'll just message me and be like, yeah, so people aren't happy about what I said, but we have views, Justin. And this will be 15 years down the line. You and I hate each other because obviously the whole Fallout thing happened where, you said the one game was good, I said it was terrible, and we got into a fist fight. But I'll be like, yes, congratulations, Tristan.
Are we talking about Fallout, or are we talking about Fallout as in us separating?
Yeah, I'm talking about us separating, but it could be because of Fallout. So there could be Fallout because of Fallout. That's what I was thinking. Which would be quite a thing. The new Fallout comes out, you say it's great, I'm like, no, it's shit.
Bethesda ruins everything, even friendships. Because I will argue that I did like 76, but it's all the monetization and the microtransactions and that put me off of it. But there's a game that you don't like, and I do.
Well, I mean, I haven't played it.
There's a series coming up.
I just think it should be single player, but I've heard that it's a lot better than it was when it came out. So,
I mean, the bugs are still there, but yeah, let me not just derail for another hour.
When you say bugs, do you mean like technical bugs or like rad roaches?
Oh no, technical bugs.
Okay, cool.
The rad roaches are fucking terrifying.
Of course they are. But I think that is everything. So should we say the tatars?
The goodbyes and farewells? Yes, indeed.
The fare-thee-wells. Well then, it has been... Well, wait, you opened. You should close.
I should close?
Yes.
Well, then I will close. Thank you very much, everybody that joined us for this 2-hour conversation. This has been the 2 Cent Report with 1 Cent Justin, the host, and the far superior co-host, 1 Cent Tristan. We don't know when we will be able to get another one out, but we look forward to actually maintaining a regular schedule. Not regular to your regular to our regular. So when you're on our level of regular, you'll feel that the scheduling is regular. Yeah.
Yeah. I have notes about your closing, but it's fine. So.
Oh please! You just want me open.
Obviously. So. Oh wait, we should probably plug things.
Check out the plugs down below. I've got a game that I haven't worked on in a while, but I'm working on it at the same time. I did like a massive load of code cleanup in preparation to patch together the game with the multiplayer. The multiplayer does work, so that's fucking amazing. If you want to check out if you want to help and sponsor, there's a Patreon link down below, as well as we have a Twitter account that will also be down below. We do post stuff on YouTube, but not very often. Links to that will also be on Twitter. And if you are a Patreon subscriber, you'll get extra links and extra content and nice little goodies for subscribing. That is it from me. Otherwise, you can check me out on Twitter at Lord_Kumquat. And I will hand over to Justin.
Finally. You could check out LC_Lupus on, because actually now YouTube has introduced handles, so it's actually the same. I think it's at LC Lupus for my channel, or you can just look up LC Lupus, it comes up. So there's a channel, LC_Lupus is for the Twitter account, and then also you can check out my first book that I published, The Cyborg Wilderness, where the links are also down below. And I'm currently actually editing the next 2 books, because I plan on being fucking ludicrous and publishing like 5 books next year. So should be fun. Should be fun. And yeah, yes. That's everything.
All I have to say is, guys, everybody out there, please support him. He is a literature major, so he's going to need all the support he can.
Yep.
There's been several nights with no water, living in this country, there's no power. He's going to need every last bit. Even if you want to send him old socks, even just the left sock, he's fine with it. He will make do. He's very crafty.
I'm very crafty. I have been enjoying the sex work on the side, but, preferably should be trying to make money through what other people consider to be, good work. So, yeah. Well, that'll be everything.
At least you're getting fed.
I am always getting fed. It's a lot of protein. But all right, goodbye, everybody. I hope that you have a fantabulous month, week, day. I did that in the wrong order. Ahead. Do you wish the same, Tristan?
Yeah, sort of same thing. Watch the video. Thank you very much for coming.
And as per usual, I love you.